Cheaters of Reddit, how was your affair affected by the working from home situation thanks to COVID?
One of my staff found out her husband was having an affair at the beginning of lockdown. While we were waiting for IT equipment, we had staff log onto the system using their own devices, and her husband had saved a hotel booking confirmation to the desktop of the laptop she hadn't used for a while. Idiot.
I've heard a few stories of people getting caught due to the fact that constant texting became real obvious. One case of someone getting caught for inviting people from a dating app over to the house while everyone else was out working. Personally, I have no idea how people find the time to have a job in two relationships. Just ridiculous.
Last year, Jaguar Land Rover had to shed 4,500 employees to reduce their mounting debts. They did this by offering a fat voluntary redundancy package. I mean, this thing was gold-plated. If you'd worked there for over 20 years, you were being given almost £40,000 to walk away, and the guys within 10 years of retirement were going for it. Apart from one fella. See, he had a testing job at Millbrook, so one week he was in Warwick, and the next at Millbrook, and alternated every week. He'd been in that role since forever, and had a wife and kids in Warwick, and also had cultivated a long-term girlfriend and even had kids near Millbrook. Neither knew about the other, and he was telling both families that he was away with work on the alternating weeks. The guy had kept this up for 15 years plus, and I cannot imagine the deceit gymnastics his brain would have to do to keep the lies going. One day he said that he's not looking forward to retiring, as both women will obviously be expecting him to retire to them, his one family, so that was his deadline. So this VR package comes around and he has to decline a tax-free lump sum and the ability to retire early, because he cannot get out of this mess he's in. I left at this time, but he stayed, and must have thought he got a stay of execution, but from what colleagues have said is that when lockdown came into effect and he was furloughed, he got found out anyway, and is now being sued and divorced by both women, as well as missing out all that lovely cash. I just have no sympathy for him.
COVID made it easier for my husband to cheat. He was laid off for 8 weeks and I was still working full-time. My workload doubled, so I would be home later than usual and extremely exhausted. He would sneak them in the back door while I was asleep at night.
This happened at the beginning of quarantine. So my friend got a call from her co-worker at 2 a.m. Co-worker was drunk as hell and was stranded. My friend picked her up and offered her the couch to sleep on and sober up until morning when buses would run again. My friend woke up to find her boyfriend and the co-worker having sex right next to her in their bed. She described it as being passionate and almost romantic. My friend freaked out and left right away. Few days later, people start finding out. The co-worker claimed it was rape, but didn't want to go to the cops. The boyfriend says he was too drunk. The co-worker's own boyfriend decided to stay with her. My friend and her boyfriend had to live together for a few months during quarantine until she found her own place. Best part? A few weeks ago, the two cheaters were caught fucking in public and were charged for public indecency. Not me, but a friend was living with her partner through lockdown, thought he was going for long dog walks or to visit his mum. Turns out he was actually going to his pregnant girlfriend's house. Okay, so I'm not the cheater, but I was unknowingly the mistress, and COVID actually helped him get away with it longer. Basically, we had started dating about a month or two prior to the initial lockdowns. His father had gotten really sick a few years prior, so he had started renting his house out and moved back in with his parents to help with their mortgage, and then stayed to continue to help his mom after his dad had passed. Seeing as we weren't dating very long, me going to his place pre-pandemic seemed a little premature if it meant meeting his mother. Once the pandemic started, he said he was terrified of also losing his mother, who is high risk due to her age and diabetes, so they were extremely cautious about who they spent time with. He didn't want to worry her, so he basically had to sneak around a bit to see me. Once he started working from home, he'd come see me by telling his mom he had to go to the store or pick something up from his office, which seemed fine for a while, but the longer it went on, and the more things started opening up, the less sense it made. I eventually put my FBI hat on and from some deep digging, found his wife's Facebook account. I never expected it because when we were dating normally before the shutdown, we saw each other almost every day, and he was always super affectionate with me in public. Holding my hand, kissing me, etc. He had even asked me questions from his mom while on the phone with me, as if she was in the room, so it made me feel like she knew about me and was in the loop, but in hindsight, nobody else was there. I definitely would have questioned things much sooner if it wasn't for the pandemic.
I've been both the person being cheated on and the innocent person that was dating a cheater unknowingly. Being the unknown third person, such a weird feeling. You not only feel the betrayal of cheating, but, at least in my case, I felt like I had done something wrong even though I was innocent.
I know it's not the same, but I have wondered how the prevalence of Ring doorbells has affected cheaters.
So the person I thought was my girlfriend was actually having an affair with me. Lockdown made her way less available, especially during normal daytime hours, which had never been an issue before. Started getting very suspicious when she would only speak on the phone in the car. There were a lot of other red flags, but lockdown made it way harder for her to hide her bullshit. The worst part is that we never broke up. She ghosted me, and as everything came to light 2.5 months later, the only response I got was that she has moved on from that part of her life. We had talked about marriage and kids and whatnot, so I should view this as dodging a huge bullet, but I haven't reached that stage yet.
There's a whole group of men with other children and family who they can't visit because of quarantine. Hard to find an excuse to leave the house for long periods of time when you now work from home. Those other kids or family must wonder why dad is never home anymore. Or leave the house to see them and risk getting caught by original family. Yikes.
Speaking on behalf of my wife that was cheating. She left a Facebook message to the co-worker she was having sex with, who I also know and considered a friend, that she misses him and can't wait to have multiple quickies since they only work 1 day a week because of COVID and the rest from home. F my life. That's my cue to get the hell out.
My parents broke quarantine rules to have a family friend over, and my mom ended up sleeping with him.
My sister cheated on her husband of 7 years, left him in June 2020, started dating the guy she was cheating with. They went to Mexico, got engaged, moved in with her then fiancé. She has since moved out of his house and called off the engagement/wedding that they planned for December 11, 2020. Texted her ex-husband asking to work it out. His new GF texted my sister telling her to leave her man alone, and my sister is now dating the guy she was cheating with again. They are just not spending time with their kids together. The kids lived together last week. Talk about some crazy shit.
It didn't stop my brother-in-law from cheating on my sister at all. In fact, working from home made it easier to cheat on my sister. He would ask out clients, he's an insurance agent, and go to business meetings, or a night out, with his friends, while she took care of their 3 kids. We're in TX, so things haven't been shut down much. One night he got into a drunken altercation at a bar, and the cops were called after he left. Security had taken down his license plate number, and the cops took him overnight, though any charges were dropped. While he was sitting in jail over the weekend, his phone kept going off, so my sister decided to take a look. She found tons of texts, emails, and pics between him and several women, many of which were pretty NSFW. That was the straw that broke the camel's back, and was what got her to file for divorce from his abusive ass. My sister and their kids deserve better, and I'm glad she's going to be in a better situation soon. My brother-in-law cheated on my sister very easily with multiple women, got arrested, she found out about it, and is now getting a divorce.
All I can say is, regardless of cheating or not cheating, the lockdown opened my eyes to the fact that the person I thought I knew was actually a terrible woman, and in no way did she care about me, just about money and getting herself into a better position. I am eternally grateful for the fact that I would have never known if I wasn't forced to spend extra time with said person.
My coworker's boyfriend returned from overseas early last year and immediately moved in with her after dating only a year with him in the army. She works at an animal shelter and he got a job working from home, so she was gone 9 hours a day and he was home. A little more than a month ago she came home to find out he was gone. He got home 20 minutes after her, a bit flushed, saying he had gone to see a friend spur of the moment. She thought it was odd because usually he'd tell her if he was going anywhere. So she left early the same day the next week just to see, and sure enough he wasn't there. Stopped by the said friend's house, boyfriend wasn't there either. Somehow or another she found out he was leaving the same days every week to go see another girl when he should have been working. If anything, COVID made things easier for him to cheat.
My sister's kids' school was supposed to mail out laptops for every child who remained home. They were extremely delayed, so her boyfriend let my niece use his laptop, and he bought a new one. While my sister was cleaning it up and getting it ready for my niece to use, she saw he had email notifications enabled and saw an email for a DoorDash receipt. She found the address and name of the person who received the delivery, found the woman on Facebook, reached out, and found out he had been giving them both the same gifts, promises, lines, nudes, etc. Unfortunately, my sister is an idiot and is still with him. My ex would go up to our rooftop to do some work after we put his daughter to bed since I was working from home, and she was doing online school, and has to be up early. He was a bartender, so he was used to being up late, and didn't want to keep me up by working in bed next to me. We had a one-bedroom, so his daughter slept in the living room. He was working on a business plan that I was helping him with to try and make some dollar during COVID. Turns out those late-night rooftop work sessions were really leaving to go spend a few hours with his girlfriend 15 minutes away, and then sneaking back in the apartment before his daughter and I woke up. His daughter had respiratory issues too, so I was so nervous about exposing her. He was exposing all of us. I'm not the cheater, but pre-lockdown, I was casually dating a guy that I met last year. When we met he told me he was divorced. We spent a lot of time together going on dates and hanging out, so I never suspected anything. And I live alone, so would always be at my place. He had even invited me on a business trip of his to another state. Anyway, maybe a week or two into lockdown, I get a text from his phone basically saying this is his wife. You can have him. Turns out he had a wife and kid the entire time. The kid was playing on his phone, and the wife grabbed it and saw our texts. He came clean and said yeah, he lied, because he was unhappy with his marriage. I cut him off, but it totally affected my trust in people. He recently reached out to me telling me he had contemplated suicide, and he lost his job, and his wife was dragging him and ruining him. I told him to not bring that guilt to me, and that was that.
I'm convinced my ex-husband was cheating in the first UK lockdown. He would literally go for 5 hours walks with no drinks/food and come back with cut-up legs. This is the same guy who shits 5 times a day. He would also be the first to volunteer to work in the office and have to stay late each time. Funnily enough, less than a month after the breakup he's dating a colleague.
We'd started dating in December and lockdown started in April. At the start of lockdown my girlfriend got several invitations to quarantine together on her phone, and constantly was closing applications on her phone when I would get near her. I brought it up, and she teary-eyed told me at one point she'd been a sugar baby before we met. She claimed it was old sugar daddies. I hadn't told her I also saw suggestive messages coming from her vendor rep, 20 years older than her, and another guy I come across her phone to. When I asked her if there was anything else she thought I should know about, she told me no. We were spending 24 hours a day together, so I knew she wasn't physically cheating during lockdown. Towards the end of lockdown she renamed an ex in her phone, and she made nonsense excuses why she needed to return to work early. The entire thing was built on lie after lie. I bailed. Through the grapevine I hear she's telling the story of, I misunderstood some text messages. Thanks for watching. If you have any stories you want to share, please write them in the comments below. And if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, so you don't miss out on more videos like this.